paper, or graph paper, as you might like to say it, is one of those materials that is really easy to forget that you've got. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I forgot that I even had any. But it turns out I've got this big old book and it's got loads of graph paper in it. And it's really cool because it's just like constellations and stuff. So why don't I use it more? The simplest things can often be great starting blocks to just getting your creativity moving, especially if you want to draw something but can't really think of what to draw. So today it's just me and a Fineliner, and we're going to do some graph paper doodling. Doodles. I am not sure that I could draw this line any slower around this box. I don't know why I was going so slow, because there's lines to follow. So anyway, we've got a box, and starting from the center point, I'm just going up about 3 squares to another point, and then just coming back again and doing 4 of these to create a kind of flower center, and then just doing some on the diagonal. I mean, you can do as many of these as you like, because why not? It's just fun. It's very kind of relaxing on the brain not to have to really think about the sizing of stuff, because you can just use the graph paper to direct you, and you've got an inbuilt measuring system in there. So then I started filling some of these in with my beautiful Fineliner. I do love a Fineliner. And then I just put some dots on, because who doesn't love dots? The great thing about doing a tile like this is that you are automatically limiting your space. So you've created this square and you're only filling in the insides of it. You're not worrying about what's going on the outside of it. You're just working within the limits of what you've got, and that somehow gives your brain a little bit of a rest. You're not having to compute all the extra bits. You're literally just focused on this one area, and you can do what you like inside of it. It doesn't matter. And it's so small that if stuff goes a little bit squiffy, you can just make another one. That's okay. Graph paper comes in lots of different sizes, of course. Now, my graph paper here is pretty chunky, I would say. You can get graph paper which is a lot smaller, breaks down the squares a lot more, but this one is quite chunky, and so I thought it would be quite nice to fill them in a little bit like a chessboard in the background. Now, it probably did get a bit busy in there, but I really enjoyed making it, so who cares? Alrighty, we're doing another box here, and there ain't no rule that you have to go from the center. No siree. My apologies for that. But yeah, do some leafy shapes, but go from a different point. Change the perspective. So this is kind of like a quarter of a pattern tile, maybe. Again, you can do whatever you like, but I just went with the straightforward leafy leaves because, quite honestly, if you don't know what to do, leaves are a great shape. You don't have to think too hard, and you can just do as many of them as you like, and they always look good. So this one is just really simple. A bunch of leaves coming from one corner, and then just filling them in, giving them patterns. You don't have to get complicated with this. You can do simple things. That's okay. This kind of thing really does help your brain to just switch off a little bit. They're kind of like mini playgrounds for future ideas. This is small and super straightforward, but it's also super satisfying to do. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'll take it. Oh my gosh, I think I see a nosy coming out the side of the frame. Yes, my goodness, it is a nosy. So once you've got comfortable with making designs inside a box, let's go outside of the box. And this one is a geometrically loving mammal. Yeah, it's a kind of doggy wolfy sort of thing. But yes, it's a bit more angular. And that's one of the nice things about trying things on graph paper, because you can use all of those points that you're connecting and just see if they look like anything that you vaguely recognise. We're just going to put a little landscape in the background. That is half of a moon coming from the top there. And I'm just going to use a load of balls. Yeah, little tiny circles to create the sky. They might look like eyeballs in the sky, but that's a different thing. Then we're going to pattern this area just with lots of little dashes. Meanwhile, in this section, we're going to do slightly bigger, chunkier kinds of dashes by drawing tiny little rectangles. Colouring around them probably took the longest time. Yeah, but everything else was quite quick. I put the odd lines across some of these sections. I just thought it looked okay, so I did it. It's good enough reason, ain't it? Now you'd be forgiven for thinking that I'm doing another leaf. No, I'm not. This time I'm doing a bird, but a really, really simple bird, because it's kind of based on those swallows that you see, which are kind of woven swallows that fly across people's walls. A really simple structure of sort of a leaf shape, but with two extra bendy leaves coming out the side and some nice long tail bits. It's still using the graph paper as a way of making sure it's even on both sides. That's the nice thing about doing this on graph paper, is that you don't have to have just boxy angular shapes. You can have the curves, but it also helps you keep those curves consistent. Is that the word I'm looking for? Either way, this swallow is going to fly across a little scene of sky. This is quite a nice one to do because the main element is almost on its own, but it is connected to the piece which is behind it. It's almost like it's flying on top of the other scene, which is quite nice. There are lots of different ways to use a frame, and this time we're going to sit a mug on top of it, and because we've made it that little bit skew width in terms of being wider at the front than at the back, it makes it look a little bit like a tray that the mug is sitting on. With graph paper we can play with perspective a lot easier. I'm going to throw a couple of flowers into this mug because it's slightly more interesting than just drawing some tea inside it. I did a really simple pattern on the tray itself and then coloured it in just to give it that little bit of variation, and I think it looks pretty good. Why not dot to dot? Yes, you don't always have to put things in a frame on graph paper. Of course you don't. You can just do random lines going off in different directions and see where they take you. So these random lines aren't quite so random because they're regular ones which are going to form a web shape. It's a funny thing how simply connecting the end of one line to another line in a bendy curve can be very pleasing. I added some wiggly bits of free-flowing web flying off in the wind, and I don't know, I just found this one super satisfying. I could absolutely fill a whole page of those and be very happy doing it. So lastly, why not doodle something that just makes you smile in some way? It doesn't matter what it is. And these eyeballs are the start of my own little mini cookie monster. And yes, I realise that I did the eyes a bit wrong. They're supposed to be touching. They're meant to be really close together. And I forgot that in my addled brain. So they are slightly more further apart. So it's not quite the correct cookie monster, but never mind, it's got the general gist. And then I've also got some massive cookies just floating around his head for no apparent reason other than that's just what I wanted to do. At that point it looked like a little smiley face above him. But no, I added in more chocolate chips, so it didn't look quite so creepy above him there. So this is to kind of share the fact that even if you're working on graph paper, you can use it for the points where it's useful. When you're putting anything like this in, where you've got a little bit of a line or something boxy that you need to put in, then use the lines, but then ignore them when you don't need them and just draw whatever you want over the top, because there ain't no rules. Just a load of shapes, some cookies, and a little monster. Just because I'm a child of the Sesame Street vintage years. I think the point of doodling is to just doodle things which come out of your brain and don't think too much about them. It's a little outlet, something for your hands to do while your brain thinks about other things in the background. And who knows what your brain will come up with while your hands have been doodling these things on graph paper. Anywho, thanks so much for watching this video. If you got this far, you are something else, my friend. It is super appreciated and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. It really does help to support the channel, and I will look forward to seeing you in my next video. Keep making happy. I'll see you next time.